right, this is episode 3 of What If Geeks. I'm John,
Hey, I'm Paul.
and today we're going to talk about our interest in horror movies and the horror genre. I guess Halloween just passed. I guess we're recording this December 2nd, so we're a little late on a lot of stuff. But once we start getting a rhythm down, we'll start recording on time, and we just kind of want to go over all our favorite stuff growing up, like we did with episode 1. Just talking. Episode 2 is Star Wars, whatever. So today is horror movies, and I love Stephen King, so we'll talk about some of the books and everything. So I guess first things first, out the gate, what was your favorite horror movie, or what is your favorite horror movie growing up?
I really liked the Friday the 13th franchise. Those were some of my favorites. They were really cool movies to start with, and you sort of laughed at the, Jason could never die no matter what you did to him. And then you've got when you look back and think about some of the stuff that happens, those lessons that you learn of never turn your back on the monster that you think is dead. Because you turn around and you take a breath and then there he is, right? Pops up in the back of the screen. So you've got all those fun little things. But then later on, when you look back, they were really sort of these kind of morality plays, because the things that happened to the kids, they were always doing something they shouldn't have been doing, right? They left the group, or they were, experimenting in something they shouldn't have been doing, and that's when the monster goes and gets them. So I don't think I realized it at the time, but looking back, that's what they were. But they were a lot of fun. Freddy went from this kind of really scary thing at first to sort of a joke, as he gets the one-liners near the end of the by
he turned out to be the hero.
Yeah.
You were rooting for Freddy to see how he would kill these kids.
Jason never really did that in the Friday the 13th, but in the Nightmares, I should say, in the Nightmare on Elm Streets, Freddy becomes kind of the comedian in those movies. But Friday the 13th, I think there was one at one point when Jason goes into space, I think, where they lost me.
That was the Jason X,
Yeah, that's I was like, all right, I'm out. The Nightmare on Elm Street franchises were really good. And as I said, Freddy goes from really scary thing into sort of comic relief. And he gets all the crazy one-liners, so that was fun. The Halloweens, the first one, that first Halloween from, I think I saw it when I was a kid. It predates me, as I think it came out in the 60s, right, or early 70s. And so I remember seeing it as a slightly older kid, so I didn't see it right away. That was a really intense movie.
Yeah.
And then I think they start to get ridiculous. But this new one, when we can talk about this in a minute, this sort of new reboot, reimagination, I thought was really great.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, for me, growing up, my favorite horror movie, or the one that still gets to me now, was The Exorcist.
Yes.
There are parts of that I'm just like, I need a drink.
Right.
This is not good.
Yeah.
And when she spider walked down the stairs in the uncut version,
or her head spins all the way around. Yeah, that's nuts.
This is the little touches they did in that. She was amazing in that. My favorite thing about the Friday the 13th series was what a lot of people keep forgetting is the very first movie had nothing. Well, it was based on Jason. It had nothing to do with it. He wasn't in it.
Yep.
Right. So everyone's like, "Oh,
spoiler alert! It's the mom."
Yeah. Spoiler alert for the 70s, 80s, whatever it was.
Spoiler alert! 30 years later.
Yeah. So I loved that. That twist was just great. And then now, immediately after that is when you kind of all right, wait, he came back now. Okay, so that was a supernatural thing, and then it kind of became cool.
Yeah.
Freddy, like you said. I really thought once they went through the whole campy thing, because that first one scared the hell out of me, and because it was just straight up horror, and it was there was nothing really funny about any of it, and it was this whole idea of how the hell are you going to get away from something that just waits for you to go to sleep?
Yeah,
that's the only time you're supposed to be safe. Bye. When you get into the campier stuff, and like we said, you kind of root for Freddy just to see what he's going to do, And then it got really cheesy. And I don't know if you remember, I think it was right around once they did the third one, like Dream Warriors or whatever. I want to say it was late 80s, early 90s. Late 80s. It had to be mid to late 80s. Because time just flows now in my head. They came out with the TV show, Freddy's Nightmares.
Oh, that's right.
Remember that?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he would host it.
Yeah.
It would just like it would be like that Tales from the Dark Side kind of like but it was always like some way at the end he's gonna kill somebody. But it was like real campy.
Yeah, it's amazing that he goes from like this. I think the backstory in him is like he's the son of 1,000 like horrible people that did something unspeakable to this nun, and then and he's disfigured, and then he goes to like host a show.
Yeah, he was a child molester.
Yeah, and then he hosts a show,
and then everybody cheers for him.
We're all good with that.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, it's great. Good job, America. I mean, I don't care. I root for him too, so whatever. But I'm a deplorable human being. So according to some. Then when they did the Freddy versus Jason, I was like, I wondered how they were going to do that, and that one came out decent. I mean, for what it was, it came out like I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and I really thought they were going to, because there were rumors they were going to start adding in like either like Ash from Evil Dead or Michael Myers or whoever, and they were going to have like a few of them, and they were trying to plan it out, but I guess it just didn't work out. But yeah, so. That was like I thought was gonna kind of like twist it all around again, and they did try to do like the Friday the 13th reboot a few years back.
Right,
they did it because I know I took my older kids to go see it, and that was funny because up until that point, how we grew up with Jason, he was like just this slow moving. He was just there, and then you could turn around and he's still there, and you can run for 5 miles, and you turn around and he's like 5 feet behind you.
Yeah.
In the reboot, did you ever see it?
No.
This son of a bitch is booking it.
That's right.
Yeah, he's like booking it through the forest.
Superpowers.
Yeah, like no, just running.
Yeah. And
I was like, holy shit, he's moving. You ain't getting away from this guy.
Right.
Now. And it was a decent attempt at a reboot, So and there's a lot of those where everyone's on every side of the fence with should they reboot this? Should they like I've got like a couple of little sacred cows out there that I'm like, try not to touch that, whatever. But for the most part, like if you come at me with a decent premise, I'll be like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Right. I like we said before, I always root for something to do good. Once you decide you're definitely going to do it, I root for it to do good, and then when it fails, I just pick it apart.
Yeah,
with you. So, so now you do the because now they're talking about rebooting it again now that Halloween just hit. And they even talked about people trying to throw their hat in the ring with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
Because they tried to do that one. That one they tried to go back to the serious tone a couple years back. And they did all right. It wasn't bad. It was kind of a lot of the same from the beginning. Like they touched more on the whole child molestation thing and whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah. They kind of really made you know, yeah, he's
a bad dude.
Yeah, So now you get up to Halloween.
Right.
And two things I loved about Halloween. The original one was, I mean, you got introduced to Jamie Lee Curtis, so that's never bad. But you had Michael Myers, and they never, well, I mean, they referred to him by name, but they always, like, in the screenplay, they just called him the Shape.
Yep.
Right? So he was just this shape. And they even touched on that in the reboot, or the sequel. She calls him a shape, the shape, whatever. She's like, I saw the shape, So it's like there's little nods here and there to like the first one. The original, when you had the Halloween 2, where at the end of the first one he's just gone, right? So then the second one, spoiler alert for everything. We're just spoiling the shit out. These first few episodes, we're just spoiling the hell out of everything, and then we'll get into like when we let you know ahead of time. Yeah. We'll let you know. We're gonna do a spoiler review of whatever, but we're just spoiling old movies, so go back and watch them anyway. They're really good. So he gets up and he's gone, and then the second one, he's hunting her down again, whatever, right? Much like this one. After that, they jump to Season of the Witch, right? What they had intended was, and I think we talked about this before, was Halloween was just going to be like another anthology, like Tales from the Dark Side or whatever. It wasn't supposed to be Michael Myers.
Right. Something creepy happens just every Halloween.
Right. Yeah. And he just happened to be the first, like, part 1 and part 2. But everybody lost their shit. They're like, where the hell is Michael Myers? Right. So, then every Halloween became... I would have loved to have seen some of the other ideas they had, and I'm sure you've seen them in other horror movies now, but I would have liked to have seen what they could do with that. Like, an alternate universe, Halloween is still going with anthology type of thing.
Right. Some monster out of the darkness happens every October 31st. I thought the really good thing about this one was they addressed the Jamie Lee Curtis character as being this really messed up person now because of what she goes through, and that's something that you don't see a lot in those movies, even in the sequels when the character, not just the boogeyman or the shape, is in the next movie, but like someone that survived that encounter. Right. They don't show them being sort of batshit crazy.
She's got straight PTSD for
and,
her whole life.
And that's to be expected, right? You would expect somebody that lived through that to live in the woods, in a bunker, in a place that has, all of that stuff. I do think one of the things I thought, though, was there's a lot of hard corners in a house from someone who would survive an attack. Like, you have a lot of places that are dark and a lot of places that are like corners that you can get trapped in. And so I thought her house should have been like one bubble of a bunker round, right? so you can't trap me in any one corner. But you would expect there to be gates and motion sensors and lights and the whole thing.
Right, yeah. And again, for those that don't know, obviously we already said we're going to spoil the hell out of this one because we're talking about it now. Just because I literally just watched it the other night. So pause this, go watch it, and then come back and listen to us. This Halloween is like a requel where it cancels out everything after 1.
Yep. So
where he disappears at the end of 1, he gets caught, and they lock him up. Mm-hmm. Right. That whole scenario was just great. Like just every little detail there was really cool. And side note, did you notice when they're on the way to go see him or to go see Lori, the reporters, when they go to do the interview, they're talking. You see the device they're talking into?
What? No.
It was the same one that you.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, same one you brought over. And we failed miserably. So apparently their podcast went great on it. But they didn't have any mics plugged into it. They were just talking into it there. So I guess that we could have done it that way. But it was the same device. I saw it. He was like holding it against the steering wheel, and I was like, "Son of a bitch!"
Yeah,
he got it to work.
Yeah, I liked that. I wanted them to stay around a little bit longer. I was hoping they'd make it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But they. It's weird though in this one. I didn't root for Michael Myers, but like when you see him put on the mask in the back of the car, like, oh, this is about to get real. Here we go. And so it wasn't super gory. It wasn't. There was enough of it so you understood what was going on. It wasn't super creepy. I didn't leave the theater. I saw it like at did I see the 9:50 p.m. showing? So it ended around midnight, but I wasn't creeped out leaving the theater. I wasn't right. I didn't have to check the back of my car. It wasn't one of those. Yeah. I didn't have any trouble sleeping that night. Like, it didn't freak me out. It was just a really good throwback kind of horror movie. Not sort of mentally disturbing. It wasn't. Have you ever seen those Rob Zombie House of a Thousand Corpses?
Oh, yeah.
What's the first one he did? He did House of a Thousand Corpses. Then he did something else. And that is just messed up.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, even like some of the ones like Conjuring and like, depending on...
Human Centipede, right? Like, that is messed up.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff you're like, okay, director and filmmaker, like, you guys have problems, and now you've put your problems on me, because now all I see is someone's lips attached to someone else's butthole, and I can't unsee that.
Yeah, I can never unsee that again. Yeah, I'll have you know that I sat there and waited for everybody to go to sleep one night, and I watched the Human Centipede, and I've never been the same since. I went ahead and watched the second one because I'm an idiot, and that if you haven't seen that one, just don't buy it. Whatever. I mean, it's definitely an experience. And apparently there's a third sequence.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's out there. I have not watched it. I've thought about it. I'm sure one day I'll have just enough to drink and I'll be sitting home alone going, what am I going to watch? And it's going to happen. But it's not happened yet. But yeah, like those kind of movies that are just weird.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. We can just go on another episode. We just talk about some weird shit we've seen.
Yeah.
Some of that, not quite even B status. Because Halloween, Human Centipede is like a cult thing. Right. This is, But we kind of got off on a tangent there.
Yeah, it wasn't like widely distributed, but
no,
in that genre of horror / not even thriller. That's like a straight up kind of demented horror movie.
It's
like,
that body horror.
Yeah, like House of a Thousand Corpses. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre you ever seen that?
Yeah.
That's weird. And then the scenes where they get to, especially in the first one, like they get to his house, Leatherface's house, and there's like the old guy who lived, the grandfather or whatever, who lives just by sort of drinking blood every once in a while.
Yeah.
They're all messed up. I know they kind of rebooted it a couple years ago, but I didn't see that one.
It was alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm really big into horror movies. So I watch as much of this shit as possible.
Yeah.
But it was okay.
The scariest, I think, movie for me in the last while, Silence of the Lambs, is really scary.
Yeah.
Like, in a way that's the one where you'll check the backseat of your car when you get in it. Because the real, like, there is no, in the real world, there are no Michael Myers that can survive, like, getting shot and stabbed and the house falling on them and crushed and, right, all that stuff that happens to Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, etc. But there really are Buffalo Bills out there with a giant thing in the basement that can hold somebody. Like, that stuff happens.
You keep reading about it every day,
right.
more and more every day, which means we need to thin the herd a little bit.
Yeah.
Just start killing these people.
And that stuff happens. And there are Dr. Lecters out there that are messed up and do stuff like that. And so that's why, for me, that one was more scary.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, anything like that. And that's one of those where, like, you will look around your car when you go out to a parking lot looking for a van.
Yep.
Those windowless vans, they're free candy's a lie. But
it'll cost you.
Yeah, it'll cost you. Nothing's free in life.
Wake up with your lips attached to someone's butthole. I was supposed to get a lollipop. How did I end up with this? This is terrible.
Oh my god. Yeah. I guess the guy in the front had it all right.
If you're going to be a human centipede, you got to be number one.
You have to be.
I don't know if they draw lots for that. How does that work?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be like middle's bad, end guy worst.
Oh yeah.
He got the shortest straw.
Yeah. That was such a
not okay.
That was a really we really went off on a tangent there. So going back to the Halloween reboot real quick, and then we'll move on. Something that I noticed as you're watching the movie, did you notice like you have to watch the original and then watch this back to back? I didn't, but I had enough of it fresh in my head because I don't forget any of this shit. There were little touches too, like her granddaughter and her friends walking down the street with the pumpkins and everything, right? Little touches to the same thing where you thought you would see Michael right there, you know? Then there were key scenes that were like almost exactly like the first one, to the point where I called it when he dropped her over the side of the railing. When he knocks her out the window over the side of the railing, I was like, he's going to turn back, she's going to be gone. And just like he was gone in the first one, she was just gone. And I'm like, they just turned it on its ass, and now Michael Myers is the victim. Yeah. And I was like, one, they really did a great job of going back to like, okay, yeah, we know the movies tried to do this whole, it's his sister, this and that, blah, blah, blah. They went back and were like, nope. No, he is just a psychopath. Yeah. And he just, for some reason, he's infatuated with her. Mm-hmm. And that he's going to get her. And he's going to kill randomly anybody else, that just happens to be there. Yeah. And he did, again. He was just like the first one. So it was really cool. And they even explained that one too. Like, wasn't it like a brother? And like, no, that's just, a spin the news put on it to make everybody feel better about it, whatever, He's just a psychopath. And it was like little touches like that. And then when you see, like you said, or at least going back to your point on like having a round house or whatever, if you noticed as she went looking for him, she went systematic room to room, and then she locked it so he couldn't get back into that room.
She had a door. She would clear a room and shut the door. And the middle door came down.
The cage would come down. So, and that's clear, done. Yeah. That's where I understand, okay, not a round room, and then they said it at the end. Like, it's not...
this wasn't a prison. It was a trap. Yeah.
So, it was really cool. Yeah. So I definitely suggest anybody go see that.
Yeah, my only issue, the only thing I didn't like, I wish they would have done differently is, he gets when the prison bus crashes, and he gets out. I think he kills like a 10-year-old kid or a 12-year-old. Like he bashes his head against things. That's where I was like, oh man, like that sucks. There was a scene though where he walks into someone's house randomly, and kills the mom, and then he looks at the baby, and I was in my seat like no.
Yeah.
And then he walks in like okay.
Yeah.
Like there are limits even to like psycho nut jobs.
And I think the only reason he killed that kid was because he had a gun.
He did have his daddy's hunting rifle or shotgun or something like that,
and he needed the car.
I thought he was going to kind of like push him out or something and not.
Yeah.
But
nope.
What are you going to do? Michael Myers is going to mess you up. At least he didn't kill the baby.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I was like, oh. But then he walked by it, and I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there was a lot about the movie to like. I like how he didn't like immediately get the mask.
Right.
And you almost see his face repeatedly throughout that portion.
Yep.
You know, there's times throughout the movie that like you kind of get a glimpse of him, like, oh, okay, you know. So they're not afraid to, but they're not going to show you his face full on. Like, yeah. So it was kind of cool that way, like where like they played around with that a little bit.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
And in the credits, they refer to him as the Shape. Like, there's not it doesn't say like this actor played Michael Myers. It's just the Shape.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
So I really thought at the very end, I thought there was going to be like some kind of like, okay, he might still be out there or whatever, you know. But they put a stamp on it. So you know, we'll see
if they bring him. Yeah, my earlier point about like you're supposed to check and make sure he's dead. Like they locked him in that cellar thing. They set the bar so he couldn't get out, and then she hit the thing and the fire starts, right? The gas jet starts and then the pilot lights, and then they have time to get out. But they didn't check for the body, right. If you learn a lesson from other horror movies.
Because you do get that one shot of, like, you see him as the flames are starting, right? Mm-hmm. Now, again, he's psychotic, so could he, like, he's already got a couple fingers blown off, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And
right, he'd been hit by the car.
Yeah.
He'd been stabbed. He had his fingers blown off.
Yep.
And
now he's set on fire.
She shot him in the shoulder.
In the
shoulder.
first 45 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah. In the city. She shoots him somewhere between the shoulder, like, collarbone area.
Yeah.
So he's struggling.
Yeah.
But and you assume he doesn't make it out. But again, we know from
it's Michael Myers.
Genre,
could he
survive?
Get burned and now he's really even more disfigured?
Right.
Sure, I can see that going forward too. Because there is that one shot. You see him standing there and you see the flames hitting him. Mm-hmm. And then it cuts back to it again later and all you see is flames.
Yep.
So did a part of the back burn out and he got out?
Right.
Or, who knows? So you never know. I mean, again, I always root for him. Just if you can tell a good story, I want to see it.
Yeah. Sort of depends on how. I don't know how it did at the box office. If they'll make another one. Like I don't know that they can get Jamie Lee Curtis again, but you can take the granddaughter,
the daughter.
Yeah,
you can move on from there. Yeah, especially. Yeah. I mean, there's stuff you can play with this franchise later, depending on how they do it. Right. But you see. I mean, now I want to see if they do. They, like I said, they talked about. Oh God, it's like there's a basketball player that wants to fund Friday the 13th.
Oh, doesn't LeBron? Was it LeBron?
Yeah.
LeBron,
I was going to say it was LeBron or Kobe or one of the big names. I'm not big into basketball. I don't know though.
Yeah, the guy that plays for the Pistons, Blake Griffin, started a studio. I know he's doing some stuff.
But I think you're right. I think it was LeBron that wanted to fund the reboot of Friday the 13th. I'd like to see that too. Like I said, the first one or two they did. I think they did two when they rebooted it. But the first one was good enough for me, especially like I said when he was moving fast. I was like, ooh, I want to see more of this shit.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, I know they tried it. I wouldn't mind seeing them try it again.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I think it was the dude from Jackie Lee Early. He was Rorschach in The Watchmen.
Okay. Yeah.
He played him in the movie, in the reboot. And the only problem with Freddy is because of all the dialogue and the jokes he would make and whatever, Robert Englund is so cemented in that role that anybody else is going to have... It's going to be real. I mean, you have to put an amazing friggin' performance in that one for anybody that really want to see it. I'd like to see him try it again, but it's going to be rough. And I don't know that... I think they've interviewed him a couple times, and I'm not sure if he because it's a lot of work for him to get the makeup on and all that. So
Yeah.
I think he's pretty much done with it. He did it for the Halloween episode of the Goldbergs.
Is that right?
Show,
That was
yeah,
it?
because they were like, of course, all the internet was like, Robert Englund is going to play Freddy one more time, they did their spin on it, so clickbait, ooh,
Yeah.
And it was like a dream sequence or some shit, and in the Halloween episode of the Goldbergs, but he showed up, full Freddy, whatever.
That's pretty cool.
So I mean, it was a nice little nod, but I don't think he'll do a whole movie on it, and it sucks because it would be kind of cool to see it come back. Now they're doing Child's Play,
right?
And I forget if we actually talked about that on air or not. Now they've been doing them, and that one got out there.
Yeah,
Bride of Chucky, son of Chucky.
Right.
Again,
Chucky's a doll. How does a doll have a kid?
For what it is,
yeah.
Ridiculous. Number one, just the whole the voodoo thing, whatever. The first one or two was kind of cool. After that, it really went haywire.
Yeah.
But then you know what you're signing up for at that point.
Right.
Like when the two of them are like doing it, they're both dolls, and she's like, "Did you bring protection?" And he's like, "Baby, I'm all rubber." And then she still gets pregnant. So see, Chucky, you lying bastard.
Right.
She still gets pregnant. How the hell do they have a kid? There's some really weird shit going on there.
Yeah.
They tried to bring it back with Cult of Chucky. Mm-hmm. So now again, this is like out of our kind of forte, but it's like the studio owns specific rights to the original Child's Play and certain aspects of it.
Right.
And then whoever made the rest of them, like the writers or whatever, they own all that shit. This new Child's Play that's coming out is by the studio.
Right.
So like they can't reference like the voodoo or some shit like that. Like they have a concept of a doll that's something like that, right? But it's still Chucky. It looks just like him. It's like an updated, it's like Chucky 2.0. And that's what I think, what I've read about is it's going to be like he's some type of AI.
Right.
And he's bought for, he's like one of these interactive dolls. It's bought for a kid.
Yeah.
And it goes haywire, so.
Right. And
kind of one of those things, yeah. So it gains personality.
It's interesting because at the end, they're all movies, right? And so the studios are just trying to figure out what can we put out there that's going to make us some money. Right. And once you get a hit in the first couple, they're like, well, we're just going to franchise the crap out of this until we absolutely bleed this dry, and then we'll shut it down for a little while, and then when it becomes nostalgic again, we'll try to crank it back up and make some more money.
Reboot time. Yeah.
Right. So you take Halloween through that Universal owns, you take it through as many movies as you can, stop for a while, and then everything old is new again at some point, and so you dust off the script, find some writers, and you go. Yeah. You do that with Friday the 13th. You do it with Jason. You do it with Jigsaw, and those movies, the Saw
really
franchise. Good. What are they? 8 or not? Literally 7 or 8 of those now.
Yeah,
something like that.
The last one was just Jigsaw instead of Saw.
Right, but they were at Saw 4 or 5. And then it was Jigsaw. So they're at 6 movies. There's 6 or 7 movies in.
Yeah, something like that.
Right. Sort of like the Fast and the Furious, not a horror. But we're just going to take this idea. As long as people will go see it, we'll keep making these movies.
Right.
As dumb as they can be, as long as there's a car and it slides and some stuff, and we're
Transformers.
Right.
Michael Bay.
Right. We're going to keep making these things.
Ride this bitch into the ground.
Yeah. And then we'll wait a while and we'll bring it back. And so you're going to do that with all of these franchises until you can no longer do it. And then you'll do, and you can take it into shows, right? So like Walking Dead, we're in season 6 or 7 of that.
9.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's just an appetite for some of this stuff. Are you into the zombie thing? Are you into Walking Dead?
Oh yeah, I'm huge. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's a nice little spin-off into that. Zombies are probably about my favorite horror genre.
Is that right?
That niche, however you pronounce that shit. That section of horror, I love zombies. I will watch a horrible zombie movie, and I've proven that to myself time and again. I have watched some really shitty zombie movies.
All right. So do you like the original George Romero Night of the Living Dead sort of shambling, slow-moving zombie. Have you seen the 28 Days?
28 Days Later, yeah.
Fast-moving, angry zombie? Like, those are like all of those zombies run. Like they will chase you down.
Well, now the difference there is, like I said, this is my whole forte. They're not technically zombies; it's a rage virus.
Right.
So they're still human, but they're still they're alive. They're not like the Walking Dead.
I don't recall that you can get them back.
No,
at least not in the first one.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah. So once you have
once you get to the second one, there's one of the kids is immune to the virus or whatever. They're trying to get him somewhere so they can create at least a vaccine to get everybody else. But now it was a really good movie, and and that was like the first time you're like, holy shit, they're really hauling ass. It was good. I kind of like, for me, like my idealistic zombie apocalypse, like I would say like it's kind of like, for me, I think it would be more like when they rebooted the Romero franchise and they had like the remakes, and they had you got to the Dawn of the Dead where like the fresh dead people, they were hauling ass. Mm-hmm. But when you looked at some of the ones that were a little bit older or they'd been moving around for a little while, they were slower. They were just kind of shambling. Yeah. So I think like that would be, and that to me, it kind of scientifically would make some kind of sense. I mean, you got to put aside the fact that there's corpses walking around, but to make it work in my head, I would think that if like if it's Walking Dead and everybody dead or everybody who dies is going to get up again because it's a virus that's everyone's got, or if it's a bite or whatever, however you get to that zombified state, if like you're like young and fresh dead, like immediate, you should probably be moving faster. Your rigor mortis and all that other shit is going to set in. Yeah. If you've been sitting in a corpse or in a grave, and the dead just start to rise, like those guys, the old school Romero stuff, or Return of the Living Dead, when they're coming out of the ground, I can see them moving slower because your muscles have frozen, whatever, that kind of thing. I can kind of like, I would blend the two. Yeah. If I were to make something, where the older ones are moving slow, the younger ones are moving fast, kind of, much like life. Yeah. But I love the zombie movies. I started out with the Romero shit. The way I got into the Walking Dead TV show was because of the comic. Yeah. I was. This is going back to like 2010, 2009. I came back home from Iraq. I had stopped buying comics for quite a while at that point, and I was just looking for something to read. And Heather and I went to Barnes & Noble, and we were doing whatever, and they had the little compilation books of Walking Dead. So I was like, oh, like the first few were on sale. So instead of like paying $15, it was like $5. So I bought the first 3. After the first page, I was like, I'm done. This is great. So the book had me hooked, and that's how I found the show, was because I've been reading these I would only buy the compilations at that point because I'm like, well, I'm gonna spend my money on it. I'll just wait for them to come out and buy them all at once. So I got like into, I don't know, however many were going on before the show came out. And I was really deep into it. I went online to look to see when the next compilations were coming out, and when I clicked on, Googled Walking Dead comic, whatever, there was the picture of the very first ad for it with Andrew Lincoln on the horse, walking away, and I'm like playing around with the computer. And I looked, and I'm like, that looks like real life. What the hell is that? And I clicked on it, and I was like, oh, they're making a show. And I basically lost my shit. So then I told everybody I knew, and we all watched it. And it's been like one of those up and down, like, it fell off for a while. Now, in the 9th season, I know they're still struggling for viewers, but I hope some of the viewers are really coming back, like some of the articles I read, because it's gotten to a point now where all along the way, like if you read the comics, you don't know exactly what's going to happen, because there are some people who die in the comics who are alive on the show, and vice versa, where you're like, holy shit, they killed so-and-so off, whatever. And then there are certain things in the comics, like the kind of like comic line goes this way, and then the show kind of does one of these. So it's an alternate timeline kind of thing. They're 2 different universes, but there are touches of it for the comic fans, where there have been like that one shot of him going down the highway there on a horse. That's right out of the comic. Yeah. There are specific scenes that are like right out of the comic where you're just like, holy shit, they pulled that off great. And then now we're to the point where it's so different from the comic that I'd really like to see how it goes. So I hope it doesn't get canceled.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see.
9 seasons is a good run,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are 13 episodes, some of them are 12, but that's the way TV's going now. Is you're not doing 23 episode seasons as often, right? You're doing 8 or 10, and then gone for a little while and back.
Yeah, well, because of the streaming stuff.
Yeah,
Netflix did that, and which is a nice way because you can binge it, and then you just find something else to binge. Which is funny too, because I always see everyone posting on Facebook like, "I need a new show to watch." I'm like, "There's so much shit out there. Just pick something."
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I get what they mean. You find one that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing about the zombie apocalypse world is society breaks down really fast in all of those, right? Like everything goes to pot really quickly. From whether it's the cars sitting on the side of the road, like that stuff, but like the government and the fabric of society breaks down fast.
Yeah.
It wasn't a zombie show, but NBC had a show where the power, like every electronic device stops working. I can't remember what it's called.
Revival?
Is that what it was?
No, it was
Revolution.
Revolution.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And the O in Revolution was the computer kind of on off button.
Yeah.
Right. And for some, I didn't follow through. I saw like half of the episodes, but like something happens, and every device that's electronic or electrical stops working, and then but like really quickly, society just breaks down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we're back in these like gang factions and things, and state government and the federal government's it's all out. It all happens fast.
Yeah. And part of me is like, yeah, I think it would, because look at some of these idiots.
Yeah.
Okay, half of society is breaking down now.
True. Good point. Yeah. And we've got all this stuff, and there's no zombies I'm aware of.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I think it would be interesting. I think we could clear out some of this shit pretty quick.
Walking Dead's one of those shows though that like I remember one time Gail and the kids were gone, and so I was catching up on some episodes, and that show's intense, but both from what's happening, but the music is really well done and like sets the scene, right?
Yeah.
And leads to things, and the wind or something in the backyard hit our playground and our swing set and like made a noise, and I was like, time for something funny. Because it was late. I had like most of the lights out in the house, and it gets to that point, and I was like, "Oh, let's turn on a comedy."
Yeah. That's yeah.
Yeah, four. I think it was 4 or 5 episodes in a row I had streamed, and I was like, "This shit's getting really intense. Like, I need a pressure valve right now."
Yeah, I get like that with the. Like I said, the zombie movies I like. Just like we'll touch base on one more thing. If you Google zombie movies, holy crap, you will find some interesting. Like there are some really like, why am I watching this? But at the same point, I'm kind of invested at this point. Yeah. But there have been like a little cute ones that I'm like, all right, that was decent. There was one. I think it's Steve Niles Remains, and that's the title. His name is in the title,
right.
So, of course. And I think maybe it was because it was a book at one point. But it's based in like a Las Vegas casino kind of thing.
Okay.
And that one wasn't bad. It was definitely like one of those B movies, but it was like upper B. Like it was like a B plus. It was like, all right, there's just enough camera work and acting skills in this to make it somewhat worthwhile. You sit there, get a bag of chips, watch, whatever. That one I enjoyed. Then you go to the other, like Romero. When you got past Day of the Dead, even when they did like the remakes, that fell off bad. Like because Romero was doing a comment on society at the time. The first one was about prejudice and racism and everything, and the second one was about society's consumerism and everything. That's why they're in the mall and whatever. And then the third one is just a whole breakdown of whatever. When they did the reboots, and they did, because there was a Night of the Living Dead reboot a while ago, and I keep looking for it online. I'm going to wind up just ordering a DVD of it because I want to watch it again. Because I watched all of them over and over again, and I can't find, it was like in the 90s. They redid this one. Which they made Barbara a little bit more competent, where she's, so she's like actually trying to fight a little bit. I want to watch that one again. But then the second one was really good. That was the Ving Rhames, and he was the security guard, and he was the cop.
Okay.
And they go to the mall in the second one. That one, Dawn of the Dead. Then Day of the Dead was like, I don't think like half the people that watched Dawn of the Dead even know they made this damn reboot or remake. It's like it's just out there. It's very similar in steps to the original, but it's like Mina Savari, I think, is in it. Yeah. Which again, and I watched it. And it was okay. It was not great. I'd probably put like something like the Remains above it, but I'd also put Remains above like maybe the last Survival of the Dead or whatever, the one where they're on the island.
I didn't see that one.
I got what they were going for. Like eventually, Romero was going for like once he hit Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead. Because Diary of the Dead is supposed to show like the initial breakout, but like people recording it, like the found footage kind of shit.
Yeah.
Right? That one was kind of good. The Land of the Dead, it shows where the walls are up and they're trying to rebuild society, but it's the elite. It's the upper 1% are in here and that kind of shit. But it shows like progression of the zombies, like mentally a little bit. As they start to like, there's one, Big Daddy, whatever his name is, right? Where he's walking around, like, he's even got a machine gun, like it's like really. But it shows a progression of their minds. But by the time you get to Survival of the Dead, one of them is a zombie and she's riding a horse. I'm like, all right, wait. I'm kind of like, and I kind of get what he was going for. Like there was parts of them coming back or whatever, but it was, at some point you lose me.
Yeah.
I want to see the zombies attacking whatever. So it was kind of weird. It was getting there.
World War Z, they kind of work together, right, like a hive of ants.
Yeah, which was it was a really cool concept to me. Like when you saw them all scrambling over each other against the wall, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, like they don't do that in Walking Dead,
No.
Return of the Living Dead. Like none of that's like they don't work together.
Yeah, they'll climb over each other to get to the food.
Yeah,
and
they don't work
beat each other up to get to the food. But they don't work together. That was when they started forming like a bridge up to or a tower to get to the helicopter when the helicopter was leaving. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But that was a good one. They're going to make a sequel to that, or they're making a sequel to that right now.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good book too. Did you read the book?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good. Like it starts with it shows how it starts, right, with like the first kid getting bit by the fish or something, right, and then he turns, and then it goes. But the way different countries sort of deal with the problem. Yeah. Better book than movie, like most.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, which is another good segue. There you go. So, and again, and we will repeatedly go back and forth on a lot of this stuff here. It's another good segue. We'll roll right into one of my favorite horror writers, Stephen King.
Yeah.
So we should probably take a 2-minute break, and then we'll pop back in here.
Get into Stephen King.
Yeah, we'll get into Stephen King, so I can go find out what the hell my son is doing. Hey, now we're going. Okay. So, yeah. I just spent the last 15 minutes talking about my favorite Stephen King shit.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was great.
It was really good. No one will ever hear it.
You missed it. Moving on. No, I'm kidding. All right. So.
I asked John what his favorite Stephen King novel was.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, when I started out when we came back from our break, and then apparently I don't know how to hit a record button. That's the second time we've done that. That whole beginning part, we can never
There's some
get
great
that
stuff.
shit back.
Yeah.
It's just lost in the ether. It's in our heads. I started saying that there were two things that I loved reading growing up. One was the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and the second was Stephen King books. I got hooked. I forget the first book I read. I even want to say it might be It, which was the answer to your question initially. I love It. I think it's a perfect book. But I grew up reading all the Stephen King stuff. You can vaguely, I don't know if the mic's going to pick it up or not, but Noah's in his room playing video games. So I think he just got shot. He's a big Fortnite nut. It was really, really good. Like, I loved that book. There was so much involved. And like we said before, one of the things that King is good about is detail, and people complain about it. He can take 15 pages to talk about a sunrise or a sunset or the way someone's shirt looked or whatever, and you're like, holy shit, it's getting to the point. But the flip side of that, the other thing that I love that he does is everything is connected somehow. And I've always said I had a theory on he has to have a room in his house that is nothing but a timeline and just this guy is this guy here, and then he's over here, and he's a kid here, and how all this shit connects. Because I don't know how. Like I can piecemeal little things like we were doing in the lost footage when I was like describing how some people or whoever, like for example, the Tommyknockers. I said there's an alien ship and these kids are chasing this dude, and it's like 5 pages. That's all in this one kid's head. He's a passenger. And the girl asks him, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And he's trying to figure out how he explains to her that he thought he saw a clown in a sewer. And he looks over his shoulder, and there's an orange pom-pom laying in the road. So there's Pennywise. And there's little things like the sheriff in one is whatever. There's 2 books, The Regulators and... I don't remember. Desperation? Yeah. But there's like... Those are like flip sides of the same story kind of thing. And when you read them both, you can see where they kind of intersect. It's really weird. It's about an ancient being or whatever. But it's also really cool. You know, there's a lot of those things that happen. And finally, taking a long way to my initial point, was my favorite book is actually the entire Dark Tower series. It's 7 books. You have to read it. It's amazing. Like I said before, my wife read it, and she's not a King fan, but that made her a King fan.
Yeah.
Where she will read about, like she's read more of the recent stuff, like Doctor Sleep, whatever. On occasion, I'll find her like grabbing one of the older books that I got. But the Dark Tower is like the foundation, and that's his magnum opus. It's what he set out to write. When from the first page, the man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. And from there, it was just boom, this whole thing, right? This is how big of a fan I am. I had almost everything he wrote, right? And I had like all like the little ones, and I was trying to get it so that like they were all like the same style or whatever. One Christmas, I had these 3 big boxes under the tree from Heather, and I opened them up, and she had gone out to like libraries and wherever else, and she bought hardback editions of everything he's got. Yeah, I'll show you later. On my bookshelf in the bedroom, I have all Stephen King. Wow. All hardcover. It was great.
That's great.
Yeah. It was like one of the best gifts I ever got, you know. And it's funny, too, because this is one of those things where we're both avid readers. So it's like, oh, you got a bunch of books you already read, and I'm going to read them again. Yeah. This is one of those things, you know, where it was like probably hands down one of the best gifts I ever got.
Right.
You know, that and the Han Solo beer fridge. But, all right, so yeah, I
am not as well versed in Stephen King novels. I have done the short stories. I've done a couple of books, but one of my favorites is The Lawnmower Man, and it's a really interesting story. I think the movie has virtually nothing to do with the story.
No, it's like the name.
Yeah, all they took was the name, and the guy was kind of eccentric / slow in the beginning, and then through AI and virtual reality and stuff, they augmented, but that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Because in the book, it was the dude that showed up to mow the lawn. Mm-hmm. Remember that? Which made me laugh when you finally realized what it is. Like, oh shit.
So those are good. Thinner is really good. I liked, again, a short story turned into a movie. There's not a lot there to sort of fuel a full movie, I didn't think.
No. They did a decent job with it, though.
But just a great little encapsulated story of which I really liked. And that's, you know, I read Christine, I read Cujo, which I really liked. Those are really great books. Yeah. And then I just sort of fell out. I started reading some other stuff, and I really like to read. I've read all the Tom Clancy books. I was really into the David Eddings series of fantasy stuff when I was in college. So I don't know why I didn't pick up Stephen King again.
Yeah. Well, hey, anytime you want to, before you leave tonight, you can peruse all the the stuff I got over there.
I'm gonna do it. What do you think of the books that they've made or stories they've made into movies?
That's what I wanted to get into next. So I really want to say, because there was he has not a habit, but I know he really loves the idea of screenplays, and he's written screenplays and whatever. He likes, like, he wrote with the Creep Show. Mm-hmm. He wrote all that, right? He likes the idea of being on TV or doing movies or TV movies or whatever. But I think almost all of his shit, they went with, like, bad directors or just not enough budget or whatever. So every time you hear Stephen, like, every time especially as much of a nut as I am for Stephen King, every time I hear Stephen King movies coming out, I'm like, yes, oh shit. I'm like, again, just like a Michael Bay Transformer, I'm like, oh, okay, you're gonna get me in, and then I'm gonna be like, eh. Yeah. So, like, the first one's like the original Langoliers. The concept of the movie. Did you ever see that one? No. It had Bronson Pinchot, Cousin Balky. Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Yeah, there you go. There's a reference.
Right.
There's the first one.
You're explaining the problem with the movie?
Yeah, pretty much. There are bits and pieces there that are good. The story basically has to do with kind of time travel, but it puts time travel on its ear. It's a plane. There's a plane full of people. These people wake up and realize that half the people that were on the plane are gone. Right, they're just gone. But, like, their stuff is there. It's almost like a rapture kind of thing, right? Like, it's gone. So there's this whole thing going on there. One of the pilots is alive because, like, he was taking a nap while the co-pilot was up, whatever. And he wakes up because of the turbulence and shit. So they land at an airport, and I forget the long and short of it is, like, they land, but, like, there's nobody there, and everything just looks weird. They're out of time, but they're just adjacent. They're in the past, but what it is where basically they explain, like, time travel is really impossible because the Langoliers are. That was the cheesy effect of that movie. It was like, okay, you lost me on that one.
Right.
The concept was cool. Basically, the Langoliers are what God or whoever, nature is set up to eat the past because there's only so much space, whatever, So it's almost like a videotape kind of thing, So, like, they eat the past, so you can't go back.
Right.
But these people are somehow stuck in the past right before the Langoliers are coming to eat it. And they're trying to figure out a way to get ahead,
right.
And it's like little shit, like they stop and they go into one of the restaurants in the airport. There's nobody there, but, like, all the food is stale. It's not even stale. Like, there's no taste to it, because they're not in time. They're not in sync with time. It's a really cool concept. The movie was, and like I said, there's maybe, like, I don't know, another $500,000 or something. You could have really done something with it.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of his movies. The Stand, that it was like a miniseries, right? Molly Ringwald, right? That one was decent. Again, a little more money for effects. Plus, it was in the 80s, so the effects were, whatever. Yeah. Like, I'd like to see that remade now, especially now that it's a kick. They're starting again with the new ones. Like, the original It was good. There was some cheesy shit to it, but it was good. And Tim Curry really did a good job of Pennywise. Now it brings you to
the new Pennywise,
Yeah, the new one. What did you think of that?
I haven't seen it. I know that the clown is super creepy. It is, as I think we said in the first episode, or when we did our origin stories, I have 2 kids and a wife that do not like horror movies, so I don't get out as often as I'd like. I saw Halloween because I was like, John and I are going to record a podcast. I need to go see it.
We're going to talk about it.
But I haven't gotten to. But the clown in Pennywise is super creepy.
Yeah. The new Pennywise is really creepy. I've seen it twice. I saw it once in the theater. Heather and I went out with a bunch of our friends who went to go see it. And then my daughter, Jessie, wanted to see it, so we watched it at home, rented it. And that was one of those where I was like, they can do so much more with it, especially as a horror movie. And I was reading, listening to podcasts about it, whatever. I'm like, they can do a lot with this thing. It can be a lot of fun. but I was like, the Tim Curry performance would be really good. I want to see it again. You get to that. I was at the point where I want to see. I'm going to withhold judgment. The first image they showed of Pennywise, I was like, I see what they're going for with the old school clown thing, but because Tim Curry is so ingrained in your head, right. I was like, is this going to be all right? And then I saw the trailer, and I'm like, I'm done. I was like, I am all the way in.
Yeah.
I'm paying with everybody else's money already. Like, let's go. That trailer was awesome. It was like the little things they did. And they really, they went for the horror aspect. And I love how the guy who directed it, again, this is my weak side of things. I don't remember. I'll know it when I hear his name. But he really took this thing and like said, okay, we're going straight horror. You'll have those moments, but there were some comedic moments here and there. But there were two things that I really wanted to touch on with that one. The first is in the frame of a couple of hours, he really hit that same vibe that you get from like Stranger Things, which is something else I want to talk about here in a little bit. But like that old school vibe of when we grew up, right? Down to like the T-shirts for the whatever, and that's again that was a nod to Stephen King's ability to go back and forth in books. Some of the T-shirts the kids were wearing were like references to like businesses in other books.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, like the Tracker Brothers, whatever it was like in another book. Like
that's cool.
The director went like deep. The ability to make it like you really bonded with these kids. In like that it was fast. With some movies you just don't get that, and that's for me. That's one of the reasons why, like, when I went to Full Sail and whatever, and they were like trying to teach us how to make movies. I'm like, I don't want to make movies. I just want to talk about them. I've got really good ideas, but I don't know how to execute them. And I'll be that director that's like, yeah, I can do it. And I'm like, shit. I've got the good vision. I'll write the shit. You take it, and go.
Right.
Because I can like write the Star Wars movies and the superhero movies or whatever, and I can do all that shit. But I couldn't direct the stuff, and I couldn't make the movies because I know there's something there, that there's an ability to just make you invest in this story for 2 hours, and he nailed it in that movie.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible. The second thing is the Skarsgård kid, Alexander Skarsgård,
right?
Pennywise. I spiked. He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's like the way his portrayal of Pennywise, and he said it from the beginning. He was like, "Look, I'm not going to try to touch what Tim Curry did." And it's like, that's a classic, as I'm not gonna be able to do it. So he went with his thing, and his portrayal is straight up creepy.
Yeah.
And there's a thing he does, which the director wanted him to try to do. There's an effect there where when he's in the sewer talking to Georgie, and you got to watch that scene, right? Because when it pans on Pennywise in the sewer as he's talking to Georgie, the camera's coming in from like his left side. His left eye is looking at the camera, and his right eye is looking at Georgie.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it's like, and the director had it in his head. He's like, I want to do this because I want to unsettle the audience. I want them to think Pennywise is looking right at them. So he's like, I'm going to do it in post. And Skarsgård said, no, I can actually do that. Like, he can move his eyes. So, yeah.
Oh, that's
nice.
So
that's him. He did that
wow.
shit, right? And like little things like that, like little touches like that I love, there's just that whole story, so you have to sit down and watch that, especially with 2 coming out, because we're gonna have to go together and watch that.
You think that Stephen King didn't get the ability to choose the director? Like, you would think an author of his caliber and as many books as he's written and sold and movies made, that you get to pick the director and some of that stuff, as opposed to, we just bought a bunch of Stephen King scripts, and thanks, Steve, you don't get to make these decisions now. We own them. Have a nice day. Here's your tickets to the premiere, and sorry if you don't like it.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I think too, because especially like you said, a writer of his caliber, you would think, because it's kind of like you get into a George Lucas thing, where like, okay, you sell it off or whatever. Was he not necessarily? I don't think Stephen King was ever in it for the money. I think it was, these are my babies, but I want to see them because Like, he's like, I want to see them made. So I think maybe he got
Nobody wants
excited.
to see them made poorly.
Right. I think maybe he just got overexcited that people were interested in them and started making them, because there are some like,
Yeah.
But now they've been getting better, and now I think now what you're getting is because all these directors are fans,
Yeah.
and they're more us, right?
Right.
So now they're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it, but I remember the movies that were made, and I'm gonna do it better now.
And they're
Pay homage to it,
and because they're fans, they respect the work and they want to make this really as good as they can, and they're going to do the thing. And filmmaking's a little bit. Graphics are easier to do now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not as hard to do CGI and some other stuff that's good.
Yeah.
And so you can tell the story now in different ways that are slightly easier to do with editing and things that we can do now than you could back in the day. It's less expensive. But yeah, you get into the point of fans being directors and making these movies now that,
yeah, and that's where I think we're at now, which is exciting to me, because like and Stephen King also had a really good habit of popping up. He almost did like a Stan Lee thing. Like, do you remember the one? Like when I finally describe it to you, you'll remember it. Maximum Overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
The Estevez. Emilio Estevez was in it, right?
Yeah.
And you just remember the truck. You guys will know it. You see the truck with the Joker face on it, whatever. So everything comes to life,
truck,
right? Yeah. So the concept, they took the same concept out of the short story, because that was a short story. But the short story was much darker and like, you don't have hope. Kind of like where these guys, like, they had a little bit of hope there, whatever. And I forget how that one ended, but the book ends on a dark note. It's like, nope, this is what we're doing. Like, you're here to fuel us, and that's it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But he's at a cameo in that. Like, he's in the very beginning, he's at an ATM.
Right.
And he goes to get his money out, right? And he's like, goes to take the money, and the screen lights up, some asshole. Yeah. And he's like, Mary, this machine just called me an asshole, whatever. And then they go on and on, but now that was one where they adhered somewhat to the concept, but I don't think they gave it enough budget.
Right.
And plus, again, when it was made, like you said, with the effects and everything, I don't know. They could probably do so much better now. I mean, you look at Transformers and shit they're doing. The dog is hacking. We've got a 16-year-old pug that's like getting ready to croak, and he hates going up and down stairs, and he's trying to come upstairs near us where we're recording. So he'll be banging on the door here in a minute. Yeah, so I don't think he ever really thought they would make horrible movies, and none of them were necessarily horrible. It was just like, wow, this could have been so much better, or it was like, you were there. But now, like, when you got that one blew me out of the water. Like, we left there, like, excited, like, holy shit, this is a great movie. So then, of course, what happens in Hollywood? Oh, it's hot.
Yeah,
we go.
Sequel.
Well, now that director specifically made it so that if you remember there's two halves to that book, two halves of the original movie. They come back when they're adults, right? That's what it too is about. Is them they're coming back, and the cast. I'll have to show you later. Maybe we'll put it up on the Facebook page. The cast is, you've got like James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, Bill Hader. Mm-hmm. There's a handful of names that right? But there's one spot, like, they're really having fun with it, where the adult cast is sitting at a table. It almost looks like the Last Supper, And then there's another picture of Jessica Chastain sitting at a diner at a little two-seater table across from the girl who plays the young Bev.
Right.
That kind of thing. They play with it. And there's like a red balloon in between them. Kind of like they're playing around with it a lot. They're having a lot of fun with it. They're like, yep, we got you on board. Now let's take this ride together,
Right.
I want to see that one. But now they're doing Pet Sematary.
Again?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the first trailer came out. Hang on 1 second. We got a visitor. All right. So, yeah, the first trailer for Pet Sematary is out, and it looks good. Of course, like with everything, you get people complaining, of course. Like the Fred Gwynn, Jed, whatever his name was. Can't touch that, whatever.
Right.
It's John Lithgow is playing him.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And yeah, and he looks, again, go back to comparing the director's love of the source material kind of thing, right? John Lithgow looks more in my mind like Fred Gwynne is the character in my head from the 80s. Lithgow, when you see him in the trailer, the look of him, it looks more like what King described in the book.
Okay.
Like when King describes him, he's got white hair, but like his mustache and beard are stained yellow from nicotine and whatever. Right. It's white and it's yellow right here. It's like there's one shot of him where I'm like, holy shit! Like they got that detail down, right? Now, Pet Sematary is one of those ones where even the first one, like I thought it was a great movie. Creepy as shit. The two things that always give me a problem in movies are whenever animals or kids get hurt. Right. Those two things, like, I have a really hard time. Like, I'm secure enough in my manhood to admit that either A, I'm completely uncomfortable, or B, I'm gonna cry. Okay, because I'm a big baby. Like, I do the same thing. Flip side, like when people start posting like reunion videos of like vets coming home or whatever.
Cry every time. Virtually every time.
Yeah. I'm a big baby, so whatever. That was my brother texting me that little beep. So there you go. Apparently the Giants won. So yeah, I'm in the middle of a freaking podcast, dude. Thanks. Okay. So there you go. You're in it with us, guys. Welcome to real life. I love the Pet Sematary movie, the first one. That one shot where, spoiler alert again, he gets hit by the truck. Yeah, right. That's the whole movie hinges on that point anyway. But the kid gets killed. I can't, and they don't show anything, but I can't watch that one section. Like I gotta wait. I gotta like get up and time for a beer, and I'll let it play, and I'll come back and I try to miss that one section where he's running, and they filmed it great. Like the two of them running after him through the field, trying to catch up with them, trying to don't let the baby get in the road. Yeah. Wow, it's just the shoe. Like holy shit, that was really fucked up. I know I'm gonna have to put myself through it again. Yeah. Like son of a bitch. Much like side note when we get into more Disney movies. Now that they've been doing all the live action ones, you see they just dropped the trailer for the Lion King, and everyone's like,
"That's really good,
great, it looks awesome." I just reminded myself that I'm gonna have to watch Mufasa die again.
Yep.
Fuck.
And you have to watch the look on Simba's face as he falls.
Yeah. So, but that's like, I know I'm gonna have to put myself through that again, but I want to see this because I'll show you the trailer later. I think I even posted it on our Facebook page, so it shows how much you're paying attention. We'll go back and look. We'll see. But you'll watch it before you leave, just so we get your reaction to it. And a lot of this stuff, once we start posting these podcasts, because we're trying to record a few of them, we're only on 3. You guys, anyone who starts listening to us is going to notice there's a little bit of a lag between when we drop the Facebook page and when we actually drop these. Where I'll get better at trying to be active on both. Once we start dropping these on a regular basis, I want to be active on like Instagram and Facebook a lot more. Just try to keep up to speed with you guys. It's been a little hard going right now with the holidays and whatever, and trying to coordinate shit. And since we're not really launched, I haven't been too worried about it yet. But the Facebook page is definitely going to be one of those. Like until we get like any kind of YouTube thing going on, the Facebook page would be where we could do like quick little either live streams or interactions with people, with like trailers. Like when I drop trailers and stuff, I'm going to drop that shit all there. So there'll be the Facebook page you guys can go to. But I think I'm almost positive. Yeah, I put it on there because I put it on there and I wrote, sometimes dead is better. And I did it in the Fred Gwynne better.
Yeah, better.
So yeah, you definitely got to watch that one. That was good. Awesome. So now that they're doing that one, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I think that there's a danger anytime you do a reboot or a whatever we're calling it, an homage or a relaunch. Like you were talking about, the Fred Gwynne character is cemented sort of in your mind in that role. So, but there's a whole generation of people that don't know that, so they're probably playing to them. But I'm interested to see how they do this again with someone, as you mentioned, who really loves the source material, who digs into that level of detail of right? Stained mustache from
Yeah.
from nicotine and smoking stains. So I think that'll be good. And Stephen King is so prolific and such a good writer that if it remains true to the source material, it's going to be great.
Yeah, and which is like going back to like what we talked about with him and the directors and everything. I think he's at a point now where, like we mentioned, maybe he just didn't have a chance to choose whoever. I don't think he's necessarily choosing the directors, but I think because they have a love of his stuff now, I think he's enjoying another renaissance, and I think or a resurrection, or whatever you want to call it, with Stephen King. I think they're paying more attention to his source material, and I think he's willing to work with them a little closer, maybe, because it was like one of the best movies in creation is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Yep.
Right? King hates it.
Really?
Yep.
Why?
It's not. That's not what it was.
Right.
It's not his. But he hates it.
Really?
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
I know. Yeah. But
I would say I've never read the book, so I don't know. I don't know how they adapted the movie.
I read the book. Now, to me, I mean, okay, I see the connections and everything. But I think then they came out recently. There was a TV movie or a cable movie or whatever they did. Like it was like a little like 2-parter or whatever the hell they did. He said that was closer to what he envisioned than. So I don't know. I think maybe because it was, and I've read different articles and people, trying to pick it apart or whatever. And I think some of it had to do with Nicholson played Jack Torrance from the very beginning, like he looked a little unhinged already, and he's not supposed to be, So, but that's the way like he played it, so that you understood why these spirits got to him, and got their hooks in him or whatever. So it's a matter of I don't know. It's all in how you read it. It's like
that's one of the, like. Jack in that role, forget it. Like, you would have to play it completely differently. The way you were talking about Skarsgård playing Pennywise differently, because you're not going to do right. Here's Jack, right?
Here's Johnny,
right? As he cuts through the door.
Whoever took, if they remake The Shining again, they just did the series, or not the series, but they did whatever the hell they did recently, and I'll have to look that up, and I'll have to actually watch it because I never did. I meant to, because again, I'm busy being an adult, and all the shit that I want to do gets away from me. So, you people need to start paying us so that I have more free time. I'm busy working. So we go. I want to watch that one because I want to see what he did with it. Because you compare that, especially anytime you compare Jack Nicholson, that's the same level of the Joker.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Which we're going to get into in our next talk is the superhero shit. That was the only way that Joker was going to work, and on those levels, for me, they're equal. Everyone loves whatever, but for me, they were like two different takes.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. And you'd have to do the same thing with The Shining. I can't wait to see what else they're going to do. I know they got Pet Sematary. I think they said something about redoing Tommy Knockers, which would be good. Because, like I said, a lot of these seemed like more made-for-TV movies. I'd love to see them take another crack at The Stand.
Yeah.
The Dark Tower with Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey. No. I saw what they were going for. And to understand half of the shit that I have a problem with, and so what we can do, if you're interested in reading King, I'll give you the Dark Tower series.
Okay.
Read all of it, and then we'll do like
we'll do that. I'll show
on that. Yeah, next year around Halloween, we'll do a specific show based on Stephen King, and then you'll understand the problems I have. And there's certain key things between the book and what they did in the movie where you'll be like, okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying now. And from the time they launched the movie, when I initially had problems with it to when I found acceptance with it to whatever, we can talk about all that shit.
Cool.
And then even when I finally talked myself into really, okay, now I'm going to give this movie a shot because I get it. And they still just dropped it. Right. I mean, it was a straight fumble. It was like, I would still want to see where they would go from there, from what they did. But it was like, for what I envisioned them doing, I was like, wow, no, you went a completely different direction. It was still okay, but it was not like what they were trying to do. It was not. Yeah. It was not there. And there's a lot in there that's like you'll understand a lot more like when you read the book or the books because there's so much in there and there's little things where once we start talking about it after you've read it, you'll be like, oh yeah, if we talked about this before I read them, I didn't have no idea what you're talking about, and basically I'd ruin it for you. You know, there's a lot of shit in there that can just get ruined by talking about it. It's one of those things where everyone's like, did you read it? You know, you have to read it. You know, so yeah. All right, I'll let you those. You got to read those.
Good deal. All right, so I've got homework, and yeah, I've got some stuff to read, so we can do a full Stephen King Dark Tower series.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
And yeah, we'll just do a whole straight up Stephen King thing. I think that's a good one for. I mean, it's an hour, almost over an hour now.
That's a good place
talking
to end.
about how horror stuff. There's obviously so much more horror shit that we can get into, and I think come next year, if we haven't decided to kill each other, come Halloween, we'll do like every podcast will be straight up horror shit or Halloween themed. Good. So I think that's a good place to stop. There's a lot more to unpack there that I want to talk about. So stay tuned for more horror shit. And if you guys want to comment, email us at thewhatifgeeks@gmail.com and let us know what your favorite horror movies are or what you think about our picks and that kind of shit.
Very good.
And what else you want to hear? Yeah, hit us up on Facebook and on our Gmail. We'll definitely respond back.
Good.
All right.
See you next time.
See ya.